to all of you who are enjoying this London game. Appreciate you rocking with me. Going to be going through the start sit questions for the next hour. So if you're rocking with us, go ahead and drop your questions in the chat now. Start getting through these. Did just want to touch. We've had a couple of questions on or I guess a couple of comments on some of our YouTube videos surrounding the potential weather spots for this weekend. So just want to run over those real quick, and then we can touch on some of the actives and inactives for today. Looks like the biggest one to watch is going to be that Indy Jacksonville game. So from Kevin Roth, who is a meteorologist, but who does things for fantasy football. This is from his page. It says, I like the chance of seeing rain in this one, talking about the Jacksonville game. Widely scattered showers and storms will be seen throughout the area. So I'd say that off and on light to moderate rain is highly likely with occasional downpours possible. So it seems like that is the worst one. Doesn't mention anything about wind, though, which is typically the thing we really need to watch out for when it comes to fantasy purposes. So probably still playing the guys that you have in your lineup for this one, but it's definitely something to pay attention to. Might limit the overall upside. Looks like we do have some wins in the Carolina and Chicago game. Looks like gusts up to 25 miles an hour could impact some of the deeper throws on and off, but it's not the sustained wind, so we're okay there. And then, officially Anthony Richardson is out. And then the last one to pay attention to is the Dallas and Pittsburgh game. But it sounds like the storm is going to potentially hit like around or right after kickoff, but then it's supposed to clear up. So not a ton there either. And then just some of the actives and inactives. Like I said, we just had Anthony Richardson. It looked like he was going to be out anyway, but that is now official. We have Mixon missing another day. Khalil Shakir is going to be out for this one. Looks like we're going to get some of our tight ends back. So Njoku looks like he's going to be active for this one. We had a little bit of a scare with McBride after he was healthy and then popped up late on the injury report with a rib injury. Same thing for Kittle. He's going to play. JT obviously out, and Neighbors not playing, and Devontae Adams still sitting out with his hamstring injury. So those are the big ones. And then, if you care about the Steelers rushing attack, Warren and Patterson are out, which will open things up for Najee Harris. All right, with that out of the way, let's jump into it. Not good at fantasy. Think I have to start McBride if he plays, but could Kraft be a good stream? I think he's a fine stream, Kraft, that is. But if McBride plays, you're playing him, and he is expected to play. So I would not be playing Kraft over McBride. Another tight end question. This one coming from Noel. Njoku or Ertz in a PPR. I'm going to go Njoku here on this one. That is a passing offense that definitely needs the second option to step in. It's a nice matchup as well. So I'm going to go Njoku here. Truth, I received trade. Adams, Jacobs, Geno for Stroud and Ford. Full PPR, super flex spot. Dak is my other QB if I trade Stroud. Wilson, Jameson, wow, having a difficult time here. Jameson Williams, my wide receivers, Dobbins, Bijan are my running back. So you'd be getting Adams, Jacobs, Geno for Stroud and Ford. Yeah, I mean, I would. Yeah, I would do that. I would do that. Getting Geno, which helps offset, but then you're clearly upgrading with Adams and Jacobs. I think Adams finds a home, and I think that injury is cleared up pretty quickly as soon as that happens. So yeah, I would do that. Morning, TFA fam. Good morning to you, ET. Jonathan Brooks is on waivers. I don't know if I should stash him. Other RBs are Monty, Bijan, Algier, Hunt, and Allen. Would you drop either one to stash? I would. I do want to get Brooks, but man, ET, if you're still here, do you have like a second QB or tight end defense kicker? Do you have anyone else you could drop? I don't want to drop Algier. I don't want to drop Hunt because I think he's going to end up being the guy for Kansas City until he gets back. And Braylon Allen is one of like the most like one of the most like high end handcuffs to own, and he's above a handcuff as well because he does have some standalone value. So I wouldn't want to drop any of them, but I would want to find a way to get Brooks and stash him if you can. So if you're still here, let me know if you have like a second position or if you have like maybe like even like a bench wide receiver or something. Let me know what the rest of that team looks like. And apologies if I end up blowing my nose on stream. The allergies are hitting this morning. Alejandro, good morning. Good morning to you. Flacco, Nix, Wicks, Ramondre, Sermon, Dowdle, Tank Dell. Need quarterback, running back, and one super flex. Man. So I'm going to go. Man. So I'm going to go Ramondre at running back. Just give me Sermon. I'm going to play that safe. I'm going to go Sermon there. I'm not worried about the reports coming out that he's not going to get the start. I think that, that generally gets overblown. Like that could still be Gibson, getting the first carry on the first drive. And then we see Ramondre coming in like directly after that. So I'm not worried about that. But if there is a scenario where he doesn't end up seeing as many touches and going up against the Miami defense, I do think Gibson will have some room to run. So let's just play it safe. Let's go Sermon. He's in a good matchup as well. And then especially if we're going to get some of these storms potentially rolling through, maybe that downgrades Flacco a little bit. Man, I actually think with typically I'm just throwing a quarterback in my super flex spot almost no matter what. But I think here I'm going to throw Wicks in its super flex. I think he actually has a higher ceiling than either Flacco or Nix. Golly. And then I'm going to go Flacco at quarterback. That's what we're doing. So Flacco, Wicks, and Sermon. AP, appreciate you jumping in. Justine, Superflex playing Allen. Should I play Kyler, Hunt, or Sermon? I'm going to go Kyler here. I know he's been super up and down. I don't know what their OC is doing. But this is a spot where I would go to Kyler. Another one here from Alejandro. Pittman, Diggs, McBride, Akers, Patty Fry, McLaurin, Ramondre, wide receiver, tight end, and flex. So tight end, we're going McBride. Wide receiver and flex, we're going to go Pittman and Diggs in those spots. We don't have Teron Johnson returning for the Bills for this game. Diggs has been playing like 60% plus from the slot. That's where the Bills have struggled through the first 4 weeks at wide receiver. They've generally been really good at guarding outside guys. I'm still not letting that fade me or push me away from a guy like Nico Collins. But, and especially with the revenge game, like Stephon Diggs feels like the type of receiver who's been chirping at the head coach, at the OC, and at Stroud all week, saying that he needs to be getting the ball today. And I think they end up throwing him some extra looks because of that. So I'm going to go Pittman, Diggs, McBride. I'm going the first three there. AP start one. Keenan, Tucker, Lockett, Michael Wilson on waivers. Also, I'm going to go Lockett. he's been up and down with his involvement. It's either, DK is getting his regardless, and then it seems like JSN and Lockett are the ones like trading off back and forth. The only thing you worry about there is they jump out to a big lead early and then kind of sit on the ball a little bit. But they are, I think, second overall in either pass rate or pass rate over expectation, one of the two. Regardless, they're throwing the ball in spots where, you know, especially the Seahawks, they normally wouldn't. So I'm going to go Lockett there. I can't trust Keenan just yet. He was rotating in last week in his first week back, and he was really only playing in 3 wide receiver sets and not 2. Is that a case of him working back from the injury or not? I don't know. Also, that offense with Shane Waldron is dreadful. I don't understand how he got another job after being shit canned in Seattle, but he did, and now he is ruining another offense. So not going Keenan. I think Trey Tucker is interesting from like a super boom bust type of play, but I'm gonna go Lockett here. John Murch, hey man, pick 3, please. Because you use your manners, I will. Downs, Ayuk, Hunt, Ford in a half PPR. I'm going to go Downs, Ayuk, and then Ford. I like his matchup a little bit better than Hunt. Yeah. JV, Pittman or Downs in a half PPR. I'm going to go Pittman here. If we had worries about like wind in this one, it doesn't seem like we do. I think it's just rain. But if we had issues with the wind, I would go down just because he has a lower A dot. But I'm going to go Pittman here. Our guy Ty, start 2. We need Dell, Ford, Hunt, or drop 1 for Downs. Also have Pacheco, but he might come back. Tyler, do you not have an IR spot where we can throw Pacheco in? But here, I'm going to go Dell and Ford. God, makes me a little nervous. I haven't said Hunt yet, so hopefully this isn't the one that. There's always one on these Sunday shows that comes back to just absolutely bite me in the ass, and hopefully this is not the one. No IR. Yeah, I still wouldn't want to drop Pacheco. That's tough. I would still hold Pacheco, I think. Mike Pippin, or the other thing to do here, Ty, since you don't have the IR spot, is look to maybe, and this also depends on what your record is, but in these types of situations, what I try to do is I try to look at a team that's maybe 4-0, 3-1. It looks like a really good team that might be able to like sit on someone like Pacheco or CMC or Rashee Rice, someone like that. And that way you can get something out of them instead of just straight dropping. You're obviously going to be selling at a low point, but at least you're getting something back and not just straight up dropping. Oh, no one trades. Golly. Well, that takes that out of it. I get wanting to start Downs because I do think this is a good spot for him. This would also come down to like how many bench spots. Like how many bench spots do you have? Like is this like a short bench where there is a potential you might be able to pick up Pacheco if you drop him? That's what I would look at too. So if these are like short bench spots, maybe somebody doesn't pick up Pacheco, and you could get him in there. And I think you could potentially look at dropping McConkey. I think you're pretty set with Evans, Debo, Jameson, and Amari. Do you have an IR spot where you could pick him up, throw him on the IR, and then potentially pick McConkey back up? Fan first, Sermon or Hunt in a full PPR. I was so nervous I was going to get all these Sermon and Hunt questions today, and you guys have been coming through hot and heavy with them. God. Because I think I already said Sermon over Hunt. now I'm questioning that. Oh, it's Hunt and Ford. Okay. All right. So here I'm going to go Hunt over Sermon. In a full PPR, I'm going to go Hunt over Sermon. TB. Would you start Brian Robinson over Hunt? This Browns defense has been really up and down. This Browns team in general has just been super disappointing this year. I'm going to go Hunt here over Brian Robinson. Just because we do have Eckler back. We saw McNichols step up and play well, even just outside the 2 touchdowns. I thought he looked good on the touch hit. And if Brian Robinson is dealing with this injury, maybe they dial back some of his touches with that healthy backfield. So I'm going to go Hunt here just to be a little bit on the safer side. JSN or Deontay Johnson at wide receiver 2. I'm going to go Deontay. I know it's not a great matchup this week, but they moved Deontay Johnson around enough that I think, if they get him in the slot and they start scheming up some touches for him to get him in the open, which I do trust. I can see his face, but I can't think of his name. The Panthers head coach, do trust him to do that. So I'm going to go Deontay here because I think you can just count on his targets a little bit more than JSN. JSN definitely has the better matchup, though. Akers, Sermon, or Madison in a PPR. I'm going to go Sermon. I do like this spot for Akers, but I'm just concerned with how poor that he has looked in tough matchups. This one is not that. The Bills are basically a run funnel defense. They cannot stop the run. We obviously saw that last week. But I do worry that he's going to get subbed out more than Sermon will. So I'm going to go Sermon. And Madison's just not in a good spot. And I don't think he's that good either. Dylan, need help? Well, you came to the right place. Full PPR, different leagues, 2 questions. So 1 QB and 2 flex between Murray and Fields, Akers, Waddle, Wicks, Jennings. So we're going to go Fields, Wicks, and Akers. I do think we get a little bit better play from Huntley in this one, in his second week in that offense, but not ready to trust it yet. I also don't know what McDaniels is doing. I think, we can start to question his offensive, he was being looked at as like the next guy who's going to be this brilliant offensive mind. And we just see this team absolutely crumble without Tua. And there's people out here, saying that Tua is mid and he doesn't deserve the contract and everything else. We haven't seen, we haven't seen McDaniels really dial up like simple plays for this team when they don't have Tua. They try to run the same offense and it just does not work. So that's where I'm going to go there on the first one. Then on the second one here, we need 3 out of Terry, Ayuk, Wicks, Downs, and Sutton. Definitely going Wicks. Man. I'm not looking at Sutton. I'm going to go Ayuk. Man. I think you go Downs if you need the safer floor. But if you need a ceiling play, I would go McLaurin. So Ayuk and Wicks locked in for me. Terry, if you need to make like a little bit more of a swing, but Josh Downs with a safer floor. Stevenson or Brown in a PPR. I'm gonna go Stevenson. Baltimore's run D has been pretty good. Leggett or Whittington in a PPR. This is kind of like a similar situation with the floor ceiling type of thing. So if you need to make more of a swing, I would go Leggett. But if you just need some safer points and more of a floor, I would go Whittington. Whittington would be my answer, like in a vacuum. But depending on what you need, like let's say you went up against Evans and London, or Evans and Pitts, or or maybe you went up against Kirk Cousins on Thursday night. You need to make more of a swing. I would go Leggett. But Whittington would be my answer in a vacuum. Roshan, Tracy, or Justice in a PPR. I'm going to go Tyrone Tracy just because he's going to be locked into touches. I do have a league where I'm actually starting Justice Hill. I think it's a decent spot for him since he cannot stop the run. So I think we see Baltimore get after them on the ground once again. But Tracy is the one here with the guaranteed touches. So I would go Tyrone Tracy on that one. Tyler coming through with the super chat. Appreciate you, my guy. Hunt for Dale start 2 would have to drop 1 for Downs. Tyler, do you have like a oh, I see. Because we were talking about Pacheco earlier. Tyler, do you have like an extra quarterback, tight end, defense, kicker? Or are you carrying 2 of any of those? It's like I know Dell hasn't done much, but I don't want to drop him. Running backs are so hard to come by, so I don't want to drop Hunt or Ford either. I think if you're set on wanting to get Downs into your lineup, you potentially could drop Dell and then just cross your fingers that he doesn't rip one off. Because after Diggs, Dell has been in the slot for like 25% of their snaps. And like I said, that's where you can really beat Buffalo, especially without them having Teron Johnson today. So if that's something you really want to do, I think Dell could be. I think Dell would be the one. I see the other drops that you're potentially looking at. I definitely don't want to drop Wicks. So we're not doing that. And Shakir, I'll probably just go Dell. And just hope he doesn't pop off. Appreciate the super chat, Tyler. Let's go back to try and find the spot we were just at. Don't think I got. Mike, did I skip this one? We're gonna go Mason and Cook on this one. I have no idea where I was, so apologies. I've been jumping around to some of these. I feel like I didn't answer this one, but I definitely answered some of the ones below it. Apologies if I'm getting out of order here. Into that one, into that one. Got that one. All right. I think I'm good. I'm trying to go over these in order outside of whenever super chats come through. I will jump down to answer those ones first. So if I skipped over anything like out of order in the chat, just drop it down at the bottom again, and I'll get to all of these. BBA, Watson, Flacco, or Trev. God, let's just avoid the weather and go with Watson. This theoretically should be a good spot for Watson. I will say that the drops are definitely hurting Watson. Like, I think he's played a little bit better than what like the box score and the fantasy points actually show. It still hasn't been good, but I think it's been a little bit better. I think the Browns are getting Jedrick Wills back today as well, in addition to Njoku. So that should definitely help. So let's go Watson. Give me 1 second here, so you guys don't have to see me blow my nose on the stream. 1 sec. All right, we're back. Wan'Dale or Kirk in a PPR. I'm going to go Kirk here. With Neighbors being out, I think that hurts. I think that hurts Wan'Dale. So I'm going to go Kirk. Thinking the same thing. Appreciate the advice. Always, man. Appreciate you always jumping in and rocking with us. Shaheed or Swift. God. I just don't want to trust Swift. I know he obviously had the blow up spot last week. Great spot here against the Panthers, who are now missing even more defensive players than they were. They just lost, I think, Shaq Thompson. I think they were already without some of their other guys, or especially one of their important defensive linemen. He's so hard to trust. He looked like absolute dirt up until last week. I would just go Shaheed here. Full PPR, need to start one and cut one. Sermon, Gibson, Brown, Mostert, or Emmanuel Wilson. We're going to start Sermon. And we're going to drop. I think it's going to be Mostert here, because I think there's a chance that Emmanuel Wilson pops off in this game, assuming that they get up big. So then I think you could use Emmanuel Wilson as like some trade bait, where I think there's a much better chance that you could pick up Mostert after dropping him next week, if that's something that you need and or want to do. Raylan rocking with us on this fine Sunday morning. Ingram is out. Thought we were getting him back this week, but I guess we can't have too many tight ends come back at the same time. Or hey, what would we do? So should I start Parkinson, Strange, Fant, or Gasecki? I'm just gonna swing here, and I'm gonna go Gasecki. I think this is setting up to be a back and forth affair in this AFC North matchup. I know a lot of people are getting excited about Eric All, but I would just take the swing with Gasecki in this one. I would rank these Gasecki, Parkinson, Fant, and then Strange would be how I'd rank these. AK, we need 2 here in a PPR. Cooper, Deontay, Pittman. I'm gonna go Cooper and Pittman on this one. Oh, here we go. Our guy Ken coming through with the gross one. Slayton or Polk? I'm gonna go Jalen Polk here. Not worry about the matchup against Miami. They are now without Jalen Phillips once again, which is just brutal for him after tearing his Achilles the other season. Now, I think it was an ACL, but either way, knee injury, done for the season. Brutal run out for him, but that's going to make life easier for Jacoby Brissett to not have to deal with that pass rush. So I'm going to go Polk here. But again, this is one of those situations where if you need to swing for the fences, Slayton has the much higher ceiling, but I feel better about Polk in a vacuum. Juan, good to see you in here. Wide receiver 1 and 2, RB 1 and 2, and a flex. So let's set this lineup. We're looking at Ridley, Wandale, Myers, DJ Moore, Juwan Jennings, Leggett, Wardell, Walker Ford, Kyron Williams, Josh Jacobs. Forgot to put Brees. Yeah, man. This Sunday game snuck up on me as well. And I was going through my lineups at like 9:30, and I saw some of the players were highlighted. I was like, why are these guys highlighted already? The London game snuck up on me. I had a couple of guys I was going back and forth on, and that didn't matter at 9:31. So if it makes you feel any better, I'm in the same boat with you. So a wide receiver, we need 2. So we're going to go DJ Moore and Tank Dell. At running back, we are looking at Walker Ford, Kyron Jacobs. So Walker for sure. And then we're going to go Kyron and Jacobs in the flex. So we're running 3 running backs and those 2 receivers. Jacoby Myers or Tracy. Glad you said this. I want to look. Give me 1 second to look something up here. I want to see what Jacoby Myers' slot usage looked like last week with Devontae Adams out. So I wanted to look this up earlier in the week, and I just completely forgot about it. So give me 1 second here while I look this up. Where did that go? They normally have a slot usage here. Oh, there it is. Okay. Just bear with me for 1 second here while I get this figured out. There it is. So week 4, let's look at this by team. Just curious to see, because if he's going to be in the slot, I like that a lot better than if he's going to be playing on the outside and facing a lot of. Yeah, see, he only ended up playing 27% of his snaps in the slot last week. And it looks like it's DJ Turner who was there, who ended up going in the slot for them with Adams out. And I don't like that as much. If we would have gotten Jacoby Myers in the slot more, I would have said Myers here, but because that is not the case, we're going to go Tracy because I think we end up seeing Myers on Surtain a bunch. So let's go Tyrone Tracy. What could possibly go wrong? Raylan, we need a flex here between BTJ, Cooper, or ETN with the rain game. I'm going to go Cooper here. I know it's been gross, Raylan. I know in the Discord, every time something negative with Amari Cooper happens, you're jumping in there and talking about dropping him and just completely getting rid of him and not having him a part of your life anymore. However, this is a fantastic spot for Amari Cooper. The Commanders secondary is just absolute cheeks. It was awful last year. They didn't do anything to really address it. I mean, they tried to some of their free agent signings, but it hasn't worked. And Amari Cooper did have like a 85-yard touchdown called back last week due to a pretty ticky-tack holding penalty. There was also a play in that game where Amari Cooper was wide open. Watson was looking his way, but their DeJuan Jones, their tackle, just let the edge defender blow completely by him, and Watson didn't have a chance. And like half the team got DeJuan Jones' ass, and we're going after him. You saw Jameson Winston going up to him on the sideline and saying shit. So it was an ugly scene. I'm going with Cooper. Rich, let's see a fellow Yinzer in here. Start 2 to PPR, Ford, Madison, Hunt. We're going Ford and Hunt on this one. Impossible. Half PPR, 1 wide receiver, 1 flex. Flowers, Kirk, Pittman, JSN, Tucker, Chuba, Eckler, and Chase Brown. Ooh, boy. We are going to go. Man, Chuba's been so good. Pittman at wide receiver. I think this could be a bounce back spot for Flowers. But in a half PPR, I'm going to go Chuba. The Bears secondary has been really good. Their rushing defense hasn't been as good as their passing defense. So in a half PPR here, and with the amount of work that Chuba's seeing, I don't think I could pass that up. I like Flowers. I like Kirk this week too, even with the weather, but Pittman and Chuba is what I'm going with. Our guy Ashton joining us from up north. Myers, Leggett, Waddle. Golly, man. It's not Jacoby. Oh, sit one. Okay, we're gonna sit Jacoby. We're sitting Jacoby. Glad I read that right. I'm assuming, William, this is supposed to be Deontay Johnson, but I'm going to go Amari Cooper here. Para, Stafford, Wicks, or Deontay as my other super flex. Oh, boy. Stafford just hasn't been great. Man. What's their... Let me see what this implied team total looks like for the Rams. That's better than I thought it was going to be. Oh, boy. I'm going to go I'm just going to swing for the upside because even whenever Stafford had like Puka and Cup, or even just one of them, um, it was hard for him to get there from a fantasy standpoint because they give so much work to Kyron, and Stafford just has no rushing upside. So I'm going to go Wicks here in the super flex. TD flip, struggling to make a choice right now. Full PPR, pick one between Keenan, Judy, Myers, Gibson, and Whittington. I see the problem. I understand the struggle. Man. Full PPR, I'm going to go Whittington. Out of this group, it comes down to Gibson and Whittington for me. But with Gibson, I just don't want to trust that. I have no idea what to expect because they said that Stevenson's still going to be involved. So this isn't a case where it's going to be Gibson getting 80% of the work. Stevenson's still going to get the work. And like I said earlier, this might be a case where Gibson gets like the start, but then we see Stevenson come in on like the next play or the very next drive. So I'm going to go Whittington here in a full PPR. We saw him run a ton of routes last week, and he was getting targeted on those routes as well. So it wasn't a case where he was just out there running a bunch of routes and not getting the targets. We saw him get garner his fair share of targets as well. So let's go Whittington on that one. Start Likely or Andrews. Should I drop one of them after today's game, depending on the performance? Yeah, I mean, you certainly could. Tingley, what's available on waivers? Because if somebody like Colby Parkinson is out there, I would rather start Parkinson over either of these two. Although Andrews does have really good splits against the Bengals. But let me know what's available on waivers. Only other player I can make a case for dropping is Rashee Rice because we don't have an IR spot. I would hold Rice because this is kind of sound, at least for right now, until we fully understand what the hell is going on. Like unless I missed it, we still don't know exactly what Rice is dealing with. If it comes out that he has it's going to be like a 6 to 8 week thing versus more of like a 4 week thing, then I think you could debate it, but I don't want to drop him now until we get some more clarity. Jay Merch, would you definitely have Daniels over Love this week? Also, can I drop Bucky Hunt Ford for downs? I don't want to drop Bucky. I still believe in him. John, did we? I know you dropped a question earlier. Where did that go? Who else do you have at running back, John? Let me know that. I mean, I think you potentially could, but this also depends on. So Henry, Mixon, and Monty. I would try and do like. I don't want to just outright drop any of those guys because running backs are so hard to come by. And obviously, you've been out without Mixon for a while now. So what I would do to free up a space is see if you can pair one of those running backs like with somebody else. There has to be somebody in your league. There's always someone in the league who needs running back help. So maybe you can pair Hunt or Ford. I try and go Ford maybe just with Chubb coming back because I'm not sure what to expect from Chubb, but I do know he's going to get some touches, and that's obviously going to eat away from what Jerome Ford is getting. So maybe you pair Ford and somebody else and just do like a 2-for-1, free up a spot that way, and then pick up downs is what I would try and do rather than just outright dropping them. Then you have Monty on bye as well, and byes are going to start coming. More injuries are going to start coming, so I wouldn't want to outright drop any of them. Marlon, hey man, should I start Sermon or drop Allen for Gibson? I would just go Sermon here. I don't want to drop Braylon Allen. I also don't know if you'd be able to do that considering the game has already started. But I don't want to drop Braylon Allen. I think he's one of the most valuable handcuff. And like I said earlier, he's not just strictly a handcuff either, because he does get work. So he does have some standalone value, but I wouldn't want to do that, especially for Gibson. Oh boy. So I do want to go. God. Do you just drop both? I think I would drop Andrews, pick up Parkinson, because I do like Kraft as well. But we saw the upside of likely week 1. Man. I would drop Andrews, pick up Parkinson and play him, and then see what happens with likely this week. Christian, Kincaid, or Fergie Ferg? Man, Kincaid has been so disappointing after all the offseason hype. Let me see something here. This is a situation where if you need the swing, if you just need to go for the fences, I would go Kincaid. If you need someone who's going to have a better floor and just like get you some safe points, I would go Ferguson. That's how I would make this decision. Like I said earlier, if you went up against Cousins on Thursday night, or Drake London, or a combination of any of those guys who popped off, and you need to like make up some points, I would go Kincaid. But if like maybe you had London and you're feeling okay about the spot you're in, then I would go Ferguson. Is Tank Dell droppable for Braylon Allen if I just trade it for Breece, assuming Dell doesn't have a big game today? Possibly. But Pear, I know you're in the Discord, so if you don't want to do it now, you can just drop your whole team. Do you have anyone else that we could drop instead of Dell? I know it hasn't been great with Dell, but that's not someone who I would necessarily want to drop just yet. But I get wanting to pick up Allen. So is there anyone else on your team that you think is droppable? Bo Murphy, if McBride is out, should I get Kincaid or Ferguson? How in the world are either of those guys, let alone one of them? I'm assuming they're available on waivers, and you're not making a trade. It doesn't sound like McBride is going to be out though, so I would just roll with McBride. but that is boggling the mind that they're both potentially available via trade or just on waivers. So it looks like that is going to wrap it up. Appreciate you rocking with us. If it's your first time here, please be sure to hit us with that that like and that sub. Can't get a trade for the matches today. Should I just start Ford and Hunt and not pick up Downs? Kanoa, good to know you're lurking there in the background. Good luck to you as well. Back to John's question here. Should I just start Ford and Hunt, not pick up Downs? Who was the one we were looking at potentially dropping? John, was this a Dell one? I feel like we've talked about dropping Dell today a couple of times. Oh, that's right, the running backs. Bucky, Hunt, Ford. I don't want to drop Hunt, so I'm not doing that. The only other thought here would be Ford. I don't want to drop Bucky either. Yeah. I think I would just leave Downs out there. And I would just roll with Ford. I think this is a good spot for Ford. I think he ends up finding the end zone today. Outside of that weird week with Deonta Foreman, he's been getting a lot of the opportunities. So, right, Downs would be only for this week. It doesn't seem like there's going to be anything long term that keeps Richardson out, and we have the weather to potentially contend with as well. So, unless this is a spot, John, where like you think Downs puts you like over the top and you need somebody like that for your team, I would just leave him out there. So that's what I would. I would just leave him out there because I think it is like a 1 week type of thing. What? I'm trying to think. Oh, for Braylon Allen, I would drop. I would drop Judy before I dropped Tank Dell. I would drop Judy for for Braylon Allen. What about dropping Allen for Josh Downs? I think he's gonna have an insane game with Flacco playing this week. I have Ayuk, which has been underperforming. Yeah, Ayuk has not been great. I would say I would temper expectations for today as well, just because Ayuk does much better versus man coverage than zone, and he's going to be facing a ton of zone today. But I think Ayuk is shaping up to be one of the best buy low candidates for fantasy purposes. So I would not be picking up Downs to not play Ayuk though. I do agree. I think he's going to have himself a solid game. I don't think he ends up going bonkers and like wins you your week. I think he's a really solid, safe play, but I don't think that he's going to be like the thing that like decides your week. Would you rather drop Braylon Allen or Bucky Irving? I mean, assuming your running back position is fine, probably like if those guys are both just like straight up stashes on your bench, it'd probably be Bucky, just because, like I said, I think Allen is one of the most valuable handcuff pieces in the entire league. So if that's what it came down to, but I'm not dropping either of them if your plan is to sit Ayuk and then play Downs. Like that trade off wouldn't be worth it to me for 1 week. But if that's your gut feeling, nothing is worse than having that gut feeling. Some jagaloon like me tells you not to do it, and then Downs goes off. No, absolutely nothing is worse. So if that's your gut feeling, if that's what you want to go with, like I said, I think Downs is a good play this week. If that's what your gut is telling you, it would be Bucky would be the one that I would drop. Like I said, assuming that like neither of those are Saquon Jacobs, Mixon. Yeah, Bucky would be the one. Like I said, if that's what your gut is telling you, that's where I would go. Because nothing is worse than thinking he's going to go off. You ask somebody, they tell you not to do it, and then that player does go off. Nothing, absolutely nothing is worse. I'd rather die on my own sword. So that's what your gut's telling you. Gotta go with it. Cappy, Connor, or Wicks in the flex have B-Rob and Mason at running back. Man. Who are your starting receivers, Cappy? And always a huge shout out for Ashton doing our job for us. Didn't even mention the Discord, but there is a link to join it here coming from Ashton. Absolutely free, no strings attached. There's no paywall attached to it. Just a bunch of people who love fantasy football talking back and forth. Pretty active group as well. Always talking start sets. We have a DFS channel if you're into it. We have a player prop channel if you're able to bet in your state. So you can definitely join that as well. Woods Girl. Well, now I see why you need Wicks in the flex, Cappy. Woods Girl, I'm going to come right back, but I did have this question from Cappy and asked him what his wide receivers look like. Yeah, you don't need Wicks in your starting lineup whenever you have Evans in London, and that's a great combo to have, obviously, especially for this week. So Connor or Wicks. I'm going to go Wicks here. I know you're up 30, but I think it's a situation where Arizona is playing from behind, and we just haven't seen Connor as involved in the passing game. He's just not getting the targets. And it's not like Arizona has been out here leading a bunch of games. Like last week going up against Washington, they were trailing by multiple scores, and Connor still wasn't getting targets. Now we have McBride back. So I would go Wicks here. Unless this is a situation, no. Yeah, if you're looking at the team that you're playing against, I know you said you're up 30, but if you're looking at the team you're playing against and like you're not worried about it, you could go Connor just for some safety. But in a vacuum, I'm going Wicks here. I think with having no Watson, no Romeo Dobbs, Wicks is going to be involved in this one. Back to Woods, full PPR, Chase Brown or Eckler. I'm going to go Eckler. I know Chase Brown has looked really good the past 2 weeks, but this is not a great matchup for him. So I'm going to go Eckler in this one. Yeah, I don't blame you at all. I think Ferguson's a really solid play. Like I said, I think Kincaid potentially has the higher ceiling, but Ferguson is going to be the guy who just gets you your steady PPR points for sure. DK, Deontay Johnson, or Worthy? Which one? Oh boy. This to me is another case of like, do you need the ceiling or the save points? Because I think the ceiling is with Worthy, especially with no Rice. They have nothing else in that passing offense. They have to get him involved. But his floor is much lower than Deontay Johnson. So if you need some point, if you just need save points, I'm going Deontay. If you need to make a little bit of a swing, I'm going Worthy. Deontay Johnson in a vacuum, though. We need defense here. Miami, New England, Chicago, Denver, and Vegas. We're going to go Denver on that one. Yeah, I mean, Worthy is a guy that you can't just put out there in the exposition, line him up in like press coverage because he's going to get his fucking lunch eaten because he's just a small guy. But this is an Andy Reid led offense. He knows how to get his best players the ball, and they have no other choice. We saw earlier in the year with Kelsey not being as involved, he needed Rice to go out for him to start seeing those targets again. They have no other choice. We saw them scheme up some stuff for Xavier Worthy in that first game. That becomes a necessity now. That's not like a nice to have. That's not like, hey, we'll throw some wrinkles in. With no Rashee Rice, they have no other choice but to start doing that. So I think they have to get a little bit more creative and force those touches to him. We need 2 here from Semp, Sermon, Tracy, Eckler, Roschon, and Mostert. I'm going to go with the first 2. Could it be a spread where no one gets significant targets? I mean, I think Kelsey is the one, right? You kind of lock him in for 8+ targets. Then I think it's possible, but man, I can't imagine that they want to spread targets to Justin Watson. Sky Moore dropped another one last week. Juju is what he is at this point. So do I think that Worthy's going to go out there and he's going to be like an 8 target guy? No, I don't. But I think with the jet sweeps and the handoffs and like that kind of stuff, they have to start doing that. So I think Kelsey's going to be the one. It's easy. You just plug him back into the offense, and he ends up being the focal point of that passing attack yet again. But they have to start scheming some stuff up for Worthy. Like I feel like they don't have a choice. So that is going to do it. Appreciate you all for rocking with me. We will be going live again at halftime of the Sunday night game to look at the first look at Week 6 waivers, which sounds absolutely insane to be saying already. So appreciate you all. Thank you for rocking with me. Hit that like and sub button, and you can join the Discord as well. Good luck to you all, and we'll talk to you soon.